If you like storytime vibes, hit subscribe and let's dive in together.
I used to believe that trust was the invisible foundation of a marriage, something you didn't even notice until it was gone. And then, one Tuesday night, around 1:12 a.m., I became intimately acquainted with its crumbling. The house was dead quiet. Clara was asleep beside me, or so I thought. Her phone, resting face up on the nightstand, pulsed with a blue light, a text preview. Curiosity, they say, killed the cat. It killed my marriage instead. I picked it up. The name was Dave. The content, the actual words, are something I will carry in my memory like shrapnel. I didn't have to unlock it to see the line that scorched my retina. I missed the spark, the validation, the way his eyes used to light up when he saw me. The sheer intimacy of that sentence, confessing her emotional deficit to a colleague named Dave, drained all the color from the room. It wasn't a picture or a compromising voicemail. It was a blueprint of the life she wished she had, a life where I was not the hero. 8 years of building a home, planning children, and sharing quiet moments were all distilled into one cruel, desperate confession typed to a stranger. It didn't shatter with a bang. It simply ceased, replaced by a cold, sickening realization. This was the moment I became a ghost in my own life. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there, the empty space between us suddenly feeling vast and arctic. I spent hours staring at the ceiling, replaying our 8 years together, the day I proposed under the oak tree, the laughter during our road trip to Maine. Every memory felt like evidence of a crime I'd committed against something sacred, but the criminal was Clara. 2 days later, I finally confronted her. I didn't shout. I didn't break things. I didn't throw accusations like knives. I just showed her the phone. I watched her read my messages, every line, every emoji, and then she looked at me with a face I'll never forget. It wasn't anger she saw from me. It was vacancy, like someone had quietly turned off the light behind my eyes. The Ryan who loved her, who trusted her, was already gone. She immediately went into defense mode, focusing entirely on the technicality of her innocence. Ryan, I swear, it was nothing. It started as something small, harmless, even a joke between coworkers, late night teasing over text. She repeated, I told myself it was nothing, that married people flirt sometimes without meaning it. Her hands trembled as she pleaded, I didn't sleep with him. Not at first, just words. Too honest, too intimate. Typed out at 1:12 a.m. to someone who wasn't my husband. There was no physical thing, not even a touch. She thought the absence of physical intimacy was her saving grace. She thought that's what mattered to me. But I had a clear vision of the truth. Her words were the physical act. They were the fingerprints of her desire to leave, printed on my soul. Days passed in this sterile silence. She kept trying to talk, to explain, but I barely responded. One evening, she said again, desperate, I didn't sleep with him. My eyes were fixed on my plate. I finally whispered the four words that cut deeper than anything else. But you wanted to. That stopped her cold. The truth was simple and cruel. I had been lonely too. We had been distant lately, like two actors repeating the same scene without emotion. But my loneliness led me to work harder, to retreat into silence. Hers led her to seek validation in the wrong place, in Dave. She needed the spark. I was too exhausted to notice the fuse burning out. But I never crossed that line. She did. And she knew the moment she hit send that she had stepped into dangerous territory. Her confession of no physical contact was irrelevant. The emotional treason was complete. The house changed after that, not with arguments or slamming doors, but with the quiet, methodical removal of our life together. The house became a laboratory for me, a place where I surgically extracted every joint and nerve of our partnership. The whole thing was deeply painful, but it was necessary for my survival. Clara was looking for forgiveness. I was looking for separation. First, the intimacy. I stopped kissing her goodnight. I stopped leaving my coffee mug beside hers in the morning. The small shared rituals that formed the bedrock of a long marriage. those were the first to go. I realized those little acts are not just habits, they are silent promises. And when the main promise of trust is broken, the small promises become meaningless. The shared playlist we used to listen to during dinner? Deleted. It was brutal. I spent an entire hour scrolling through the track list, songs from our college days, our honeymoon, the background music to our quiet nights when we just read side by side. Every memory felt like a lie now. I didn't just delete the playlist, I deleted the soundtrack of our sacred history. Then came the physical boundary. I noticed my toothbrush had moved to the guest bathroom. I was the one who moved it. It was a precise, clean action. She asked me about it later, her voice thin. I just shrugged and said, "It's closer to the office in the morning." A lie, of course. I was creating separate spaces. I wasn't leaving the house, but the message was clear. I wasn't staying either. I was creating a parallel existence right under the same roof. She tried to fix it. She deleted the messages, blocked Dave, tried to fill the silence with apologies, but my shield was up. One night, her voice trembling, she said, "It didn't mean anything." I looked up from the couch, my expression calm but cold. "Then why did you need it?" I asked. She had no answer. That was the genius of my silence. It forced her to confront her own truth. Her guilt was living inside her chest like an unwelcome guest, waking her at 3 a.m, whispering reminders of the moment she ruined everything. But her guilt didn't change the fact that she chose to seek comfort outside. I realized then that my punishment wasn't rage. It was silence. Silence kills you slowly because it makes you fill the void with your own remorse. For me, it was a necessary separation. I was no longer her husband. I was a stranger sharing space, polite, but distant. We spoke only about practical things, bills, groceries, work schedules. Her emotional need was no longer my responsibility. I was gone. One evening, I came home early and found myself packing. It wasn't a sudden burst of rage. It was cold calculation. I told Clara it was a business trip. I didn't look up, folding clothes with a mechanical precision that masked the chaos inside me. I was leaving, not to escape her, but to find the Ryan that existed before the 1:12 a.m. text message. I needed 3 days of pure, unadulterated silence to decide my future. Then came the defining moment. As I folded a shirt, I felt the cold, familiar weight on my finger, the wedding ring. For 8 years, that metal band was a part of me. It was the physical manifestation of a sacred promise. Now, it was just a piece of metal, heavy and utterly meaningless. I took it off. The skin underneath felt strangely sensitive, exposed. I didn't toss it or leave it on the dresser for a dramatic effect. I committed a quiet, precise act of finality. I folded it into my wallet, deep into the leather, nestled beside my driver's license and credit cards. It wasn't a spontaneous decision. It was a declaration. The marriage was over, and the ring was no longer a symbol of love, but a piece of documentation I was taking with me. The marriage was now a transaction, and I was securing my collateral. When I left, I knew she sat alone on our bed and stared at the indentation my pillow still made on the sheets. She later told me it looked like a ghost was sleeping beside her. She thought she had made a ghost of me, but by taking that ring, I was making a ghost of us. I came back 3 days later, but something had shifted completely. I was polite now, mechanical, as if I were performing the role of a husband rather than living it. I was a hired actor, delivering lines and routines but devoid of emotion. She tried to cook my favorite dinner, wear the perfume I liked. Nothing worked. My eyes no longer lingered on her. When she reached for my hand, I flinched almost imperceptibly. Not from disgust, but from disinterest. It was then she realized the final, cruel truth. Emotional betrayal doesn't end with forgiveness. It ends with indifference. I didn't hate her. I simply didn't care enough to feel the rage anymore. The pain had morphed into a cold, hard shell. The truth was, she was gone in my heart the moment she typed that message, and I was just catching up to the reality she created. One Saturday morning, Exactly 2 months after I found that text, the air finally broke. Clara was trying to make my favorite breakfast, pancakes. But the smell of butter and cinnamon felt like a cruel mockery of normalcy. The silence between us was so thick, I could feel it press against my eardrums. She looked up from flipping a pancake. Her eyes were red-rimmed, not from a single night of crying, but from weeks of carrying the emotional weight of a crumbling world. She didn't shout, she didn't beg. She simply stated a fact that we both already knew. "Ryan," she said, her voice barely a whisper, "it's over, isn't it? The silence, it's louder than any fight we could have had." I put down my coffee mug. No slam, no drama. I just set it down gently. It was time for the final act of this quiet tragedy. "Yes, Clara," I confirmed, my voice low and steady. "It's been over for 2 months. You just gave it a name today." She started to cry then, silent tears tracking down her cheeks. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to lose us. I was lonely. I was looking for a reflection of the man you used to be, and that was the key." I finally gave her the full, honest truth, not as a weapon, but as a final explanation. "I know, Clara. We both got lost in the routine, but when you felt lonely, you didn't reach across the 3 feet of our bed for me. You reached across the whole city for a stranger. You sought validation where you knew there were no real consequences." I continued, feeling the finality settle in my bones. "You told me it was just teasing, just words, and I believe you didn't sleep with him. But I want to build a family with a woman who runs to me when the house is quiet, not away from me. Love needs safety, Clara, and I don't feel safe with you anymore. That's a feeling I can't forgive away." We sat in that truth for a long time. The pancakes burned slightly on the stove, and then we started talking about the logistics, the practical, mundane details of ending a life together. The house, the savings, the car. It was the calmest, most cooperative conversation we'd had in years. The lack of fighting wasn't proof of love. It was proof of emotional exhaustion. We were both just ready for the peace of a quiet ending. A week later, I packed the rest of my bags. I didn't leave the ring for her to find. I dropped it, along with hers, in the pocket of my old jeans I was donating. They were going out of our life together, quietly, anonymously. My final moment was standing in the empty hallway, looking back at the kitchen. Clara was standing there, watching me, her expression a mix of guilt and relief. I didn't hug her. I didn't kiss her. I didn't even wish her luck. I just gave her a simple nod, the way you acknowledge a distant colleague. I got in my car and drove away. There was no exhilaration, no sense of victory, just the deep, quiet ache of a major surgery successfully completed. The consequence wasn't a dramatic revenge. It was the realization that the life she chose to design with a text message was a life without me. And my consequence was the quiet freedom to finally start healing. The silence was still there, but now it was mine alone, and it was a comfort. It was the sound of a chapter finally closed.